All right, welcome to the Boneyard. We're back with Brad from Sleepless.
Hey,
So
hey.
I guess first and foremost, why don't you just tell us who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Brad. I play guitar in Sleepless, and we're like a blend of pop punk and rock with like modern day like synthy kind of stuff going on sometimes.
Awesome, awesome. So let's just jump right into it. The EP that's bringing back movie quote song titles. Did I get that
It's a
correct?
mouthful. Yeah.
So let's get to that. Five songs on there, absolute bangers. How
Thank
did
you, thank you.
that one come about? What was the I guess what was the writing process and where did you record it?
Yeah, so our writing process has kind of always been different. Like every time we put a release out, it's always started to evolve on how we do the writing process. But this particular one, I was living in Vancouver at the time because I moved from Winnipeg to Vancouver and then back to Winnipeg. And uh, during the pandemic and even just coming out of it, I was just writing a bunch of stuff. So one of the big ones, we had Means to an End, which was probably written maybe 5 years ago now. It's one of the first songs I actually written, but we went through a lot of revisions. And that one I think we had called Let Go, but the basis of it kind of stayed the same. We cut out this long intro that we had. But that's probably the only song that's actually probably the oldest. Other than that, a lot of them started during COVID or just coming out of COVID, and it was all wanting to go with like a new direction with the way we were going for the rookie EP that we had at the time. So we're trying to like create new elements and trying to create new perspectives that we had on our music and add certain elements of like personal experience into it and also hopefully try and make it a little bit vague enough where if somebody's listening kind of relate it to themselves as well. So that's kind of where it all started from. Once we kind of had a couple of those songs locked in, we started working with Dan and Garrett, who were in a band called the Faceplants, and now they're in a band called Gang. They're producers and everything like that as well. So we started working with them on it, and that probably also helped change the direction we were going with it because they were able to add the synthy stuff we were wanting to add because like I don't think any of us are really good at writing the synth stuff. So they were able to help with that a little bit and then kind of make sure that we're also like tight as can be. So they were like stern, but like stern in the good way kind of thing. So it's definitely kind of where it started, where it's the direction where it went. And it's kind of how we just ran with it. And then the whole movie quote song title thing, that's where it gets like, I don't know, a little bit interesting because when we were going into releasing it, we're like, okay, what do we like about like the direction where we're at with the songs that we have and the inspiration that we have? And a very common theme that we had was if you remember like bands from the early 2000s, like whether that's The Devil Wears Prada or A Day to Remember or anything like that, they had quotes from movies and TV shows as their song titles. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So if we're gonna like throw back and our sound is similar to the early 2000s, it's like, why don't we just make an album that kind of references that? And for those that get it. Those that don't, they don't, kind of thing. So that's kind of what we did.
Yeah, that's great. And, like with that, with like Newfound Glory, they had how many cover albums? They do three cover albums of songs from movies as well, right?
Yeah.
It's it's a great album. It's a great album. It's a great name for an album.
Thank
Um,
you.
Released February 10th of 2023.
Yes. So we're just over a year now.
Yeah, yeah. Your Means to an End, I think, has 72,000 plays on Spotify now. I think it's somewhere up there.
Yeah, I stopped looking after a while.
No, I bet.
But no, yeah, once we saw it hit the 50 mark, we're like, okay guys, that's it. We made it.
Yeah, yeah. Too bad Spotify doesn't kick out as much anymore, eh?
Right.
So obviously, you guys you played a show last night at the Tap House.
Played a show last night at the Tap House and that was exhausting.
Yeah, I saw a little footage from it. Um, you guys obviously when I started looking for bands to have on here, you guys came up pretty quick just based on the amount of posts I'd seen on shows you had been doing. You're quite active out there, and you still got some
Mhm.
coming up. You got Bangside Music Festival coming up next week.
Yeah, this coming, I guess after this weekend, so be next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you got obviously a lot of shows coming up. What can people expect going to a live show?
Well, it's definitely evolving every time. So we're trying to make it where if you were, even for example, last night, if you were at a show last night, this next coming Saturday is not, it's not the same show. There's different elements that we're adding. We're trying to mix it up every time, whether that's the song order, even if we keep the song order the same, we're always trying to, how can we evolve that? How can we get more interactive with the crowd? Can we do something a little bit different? Like one thing I wanted to do last night, we just didn't have time for it, is just go to the dollar store and get those cheap glow sticks. They're like $1 for like a huge pack. Get that, crack those, and then just hand them out, throw them into the crowd, kind of do whatever, hang them on the guitars, kind of like try and make it where it's an experience where the people that are there are also part of the show, and it's not like you're just there to watch the band. You're kind of there, and you, whether you like it or not, you're kind of just thrown into being the part of the experience and part of the whole live show. So sometimes too, we'll go into the crowd and just harass people, not actually, but bug them a little bit, try and get them to come up a little bit closer, or just kind of play in front of their face, or just trying anything that we could do to kind of really get more involved with the people that really attend the shows.
Mhm.
So I was trying to keep it a little bit different. Like we even thought about doing balloons, and like we thought about paint. Obviously, we can't do paint, but I was like trying to think of like things like that, so we can always try and make it different. Definitely an experience every time.
Yeah, for sure. And live show is there's so much to be in the live show, right? Besides just obviously doing your own music, making an experience, and that's what you're trying to, that's what you're trying to do, right? So
Hmm.
that's great. Um, just speaking on the band, obviously, I just kind of went through your social media the last couple of days, just looking to see what you guys are doing, what you're doing differently. And one thing I noticed is you have a Discord account.
Yeah,
So you look like you had movie nights, you have game nights. It's just something a little bit different than some bands are doing. You're really interactive with the with your fan base.
yeah. Like we tried to do it where we originally started it with just DMing. If people DM, we just DM back on Instagram. And then when Instagram came with the broadcast channel, we tried doing that. We noticed the broadcast channel, you can't really get really interactive with people. So we've teamed up with a company called Caitlin Rose Communications, and they're helping us with the Discord side of things. So they helped us create it and kind of get it up and running, kind of thing. And then they help with if we want to do movie nights or anything like that, they'll help us prepare and prep and kind of get the logistics out of the way, which is really nice. Like we really appreciate that of them. So we found a way to kind of reward people for going to the Discord, because that's a whole other thing to take people off of one platform onto another. Like I get it, it's another app. So we try to reward that as much as possible, and we want to honestly just interact. Like I want to have it. We started this thing in Discord called Gear Talk Tuesday. So we just film a bunch of content because I have a bunch of guitars. JC has a bunch of guitars. So like between him and I, we have a bunch of gear in different studios and stuff. So we want to like kind of run through the guitars that we do, the behind the scenes of our sounds, how we create our sounds. So we put that on our Discord. Then we wanted to also do like game nights, whether that's like a Jack in the Box, or if like, hey, anybody play Fortnite, we'll play Fortnite or something, right? Like we kind of just want to get interactive and not make it more so like followers or fans or anything like that. We really want them to be like friends and family and really feel like they're part of Sleepless, because Sleepless isn't just the five of us, it's really everybody that listens to us and everybody that gets involved with us. And we want to really bring that to everybody and really show it to them.
Yeah, no, that's great, right? It's one thing that really stood. You guys you're active on social media, and it seems that these days it's what you have to do as well, right? But it
Hmm.
just seems that you guys just went that extra step with that, and it's one thing I just haven't noticed with other bands that I've kind of been researching as of late. So something that stands out. So
Oh, that's good to hear.
yeah, no, it's great in today's world, and obviously you guys got your shows going on. You seem busy. Um, just with all that, obviously you got Bankside coming up, and then the next thing I'm going to bring up is something I've really been pushing with the bands I've had on the podcast the last 2 weeks is the Loud Awards coming up in September.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you guys are up for Rock Band of the Year and Vocalist of the Year.
Yeah, Bo's up for Vocals of the Year for the second row in a running, which is pretty cool.
That's great. Did you attend last year?
Yeah, we went last year. It was myself and I think my drummer. I believe my drummer showed up too. So it was the two of us that we went to go support because we have a lot of friends in the scene and a lot of
Hmm.
people that were up for awards as well. We're like, okay, like whether we win or not, like I don't care. I just want to attend and just have a good time and hang out with everybody else. So last year we went and it was a good time. We got to like congratulate people and hang out with everybody and it was a good experience for sure. And I'm glad that they did it at the Park Theater. It was definitely a good venue to have that, and I'm glad they're doing it again this year as well. So it'll be kind of nice to see. And then when they announced it this year, I completely forgot that it was even happening because there's so much happening already. I'm like, okay, I totally slipped my mind. So it's kind of nice that I'm starting to see the posts up again. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, this is coming up. I got to make sure to go.
Yeah, for sure. So what does it, what does it mean to you that, there's obviously vocalists here, great for him to be up for that. And, the last band I talked to, they had, I think every member was up for their respective instrument. Plus they were up for performer of the year. But what does it mean to you to, you can have the individual awards, but to be up for rock band of the year, to have that recognition in Manitoba for this, what does that mean to you for, to have that recognition as one band that's a standout.
Yeah, like even just getting nominated and like just that alone really says a lot. Like we've pushed really hard to try and get our name out there and just try and connect with everybody, whether that's friends, other musicians, bands, whatever the case may be. So it's kind of nice and also like humbling to know that the work that we're putting in is like our name's starting to get a little bit of traction and stuff. So it's kind of like a little bit rewarding, but at the same time, it just goes to show that um like there's really a lot you can do just by pushing and like networking and making that connection. So it was kind of a weird thing because like we've never been put up for awards before, like whether that's like our personal lives or like even in school and stuff. So it's kind of a bit of a weird thing. It's like, oh wait, this is a thing, this is real. And so it was honestly it's just like it felt good that people just noticed us and that people like our music essentially. So it was a nice feeling for sure. It was a
Mm.
weird one though.
Yeah, it's Winnipeg is such an interesting city, and I think obviously I'm living here, but um, taking over the podcast last Sunday was my first one, and then I had a special one on the Wednesday before. But taking it over, I guess my goal here was pushing up to those loud awards. That let's talk about the bands that are nominated, the bands that are recognized, and the little family of bands that are in Winnipeg, right? Whether you're into like a pop punk thing or you're into a metal scene or a rock scene or no matter what scene you're in, everyone seems to be so supportive in the city, and it's something that really stands out. And it's been a couple of years of it now where it's really just stood out that the support for one another. So of the Winnipeg bands, is what bands are you listening to?
Ooh. Well, I do listen to Murder Capital. Uh, let's see, what's another one? I listen to Isaac James. He's a rapper that started to work with as well. Fiji, Sleepy Zay. Um, was listening to Avenue 46, and then they broke up, and I was like, well, that kind of sucks. I know they went on a bit of a hiatus there. Um, even Northern Royals too, like they got some good shit. So like, there's been a couple bands. Matt Corey's last single, that was just fairly recent in his music video. I mean, that was good. There's a lot of underrated talent in Manitoba
Mhm.
that I feel like you're saying how everyone's kind of supporting each other and everything like that. I think it's because like we all understand how tough the music industry is, both like to get to the point where you want to get wherever that definition is, but also how exhausting that is mentally and physically and everything like that. I think that's why everyone wants to support each other and we all understand that. So it's kind of a nice thing on how all these different musicians can connect. Everyone kind of listens to each other and um, kind of even just like wants to put shows on and then it becomes like a friend thing, right? Like even JC there, he also joined this band called Also Ran. I've been friends with that drummer in that band since probably high school now. So I get to hang out with them, play a show with them, and it's more so you're just like playing a show with a bunch of friends. And so like I don't know, it's a cool feeling. It's different though, because I when I was living in Vancouver, it wasn't like that at all. Everyone's like against each other and everyone's keeping the secrets or like keeping those connections at bay. Where here it's like, oh hey, you need this? Yeah, go talk to this guy. Here's his number, kind of thing. So it's definitely like a really nice feeling being in the Winnipeg scene for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys played Blue Note Park a couple weeks ago, last week,
2, 3 weeks ago now.
3 weeks ago. Yeah, is I've never been to Blue Note Park yet. Actually, I do plan on going in the next couple of weeks. But do you have a favorite stage to play in Winnipeg
Ooh,
or surrounding?
well, so I wouldn't say it's like the favorite. I do have a couple. The Goodwill was one of my favorites,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously that shut down. Um, I do enjoy playing the park. I haven't played the new stage yet, but I want to do that. Um, and the Tap House has kind of become a bit of a sweet spot. Just I play there all the time, whether that's with Sleepless or other bands. So that's definitely gonna become a bit of a sweet spot. And Bulldogs, I really like their
Yeah,
stage and their sound. It's really nice. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's too bad with the Goodwill. I know the group I'm in. We played the Goodwill a couple times and always felt very welcome there. And their sound guy was always good to us too. So
Right.
yeah, it's
It was a
just
good spot.
absolutely, yeah. It's just too bad. After COVID, it kind of took out a couple big players in the game there too, right? So
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I guess we expected it.
yeah, exactly, right. Um, how about influences? Obviously, I don't got the rest of the band, but for yourself, who are some of your influences growing up? I did notice a couple things. You had an I Prevail shirt on. I saw you had a Tom Was Right shirt. I'm obviously wearing a To the Stars right now.
Yeah.
So that was
I'm actually wearing Children of Bodom right now.
okay. Yeah,
So my influences, whether that's like just as a guitar player or even just like musically as a band, it's honestly all over the place. So like as a guitar player and kind of where a lot of my play styles come to and where I really draw and add that even into Sleepless, I would say is like very metalcore with like sometimes the way I write or the way I kind of go about certain things. Like Alexi Lejo was a huge inspiration for my playing and the direction I have his guitars, like I have his signature and like I got all this stuff, right? So he was definitely like a big influence. And then same with Matt Tuck, Bullet for My Valentine. Those are probably like my two biggest ones in the metal scene. And then from there, it kind of goes into rock and like classic 80s kind of rock. And so we got Guns N' Roses. Slash is a huge one for me. I would say Eddie Van Halen's another big one. Even Twisted Sister is a huge. And so I take like a lot of that as I write. And then I kind of just blend it with like your typical pop punk of like Blink and even All Time Low for something more modern. So I take like a lot of that inspiration and really draw onto that just as a guitar player to learn phrasing and stuff. Um, Even who's another underrated one? Maybe not underrated, but for me, that probably not a lot of people would expect is Mark Tremonti of Creed and
mm-hmm.
Alter Bridge.
Yeah,
Another huge one because he's a rock player in rock bands. He's also got Tremonti, which is a bit more of a metal band, right? But he's definitely a player that shows a lot of versatility when it comes to like straight up cleans, and cleans are cleans and is distortion. And so that was something that I took a lot of inspiration from too, of like how to dial in certain tones and how to go about switching from a clean to a distortion and have it flowing really nicely. So there's a lot of weird things. Uh, I would say weird things, anyways, being in like a pop punk band, and majority of it's like metal. I'd say it's a little bit weird, but I can also say for majority of the guys, a lot of the influences for everybody individually is very metal based. I would say like Bo's all-time favorite band is Deftones,
okay, yeah,
but he sings pop punk. So it's
yeah,
kind of funny how that kind of works out.
yeah. Deftones. I don't know a lot of people that are big on Deftones, but the ones that are big on Deftones are big on Deftones.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the bands you do because yeah, you can hear the elements of it in your music, but you hear a lot of other elements in it as well, right? Like Children of Bodom. That's obviously a band I haven't heard of in a while, and it's unfortunate with the passing of them. And
Hmm.
but just a great band, and they sure cemented their self along metal music, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
When talking about Tremonti, like he's a very underrated guitarist. Obviously the resurgence of Creed coming back here and doing their, I know they've done a couple shows already, and Creed always kind of gets ripped on, right? They're kind of like the kind of like Nickelback in a way where they'll always get ripped on, but it's not
Right?
necessarily Tremonti who's getting ripped on. It's more Stapp there that is. But with Tremonti though, going into, I feel when he was with Creed, everyone learning guitar and people who just follow tab pages and stuff, it's always Creed, Creed, Creed. With Arms Wide Open, One Last Breath, here you hear stuff like that. But
Yeah,
when he did Alter Bridge, though, I think it opened up a couple eyes that this guy's kind of for real, right? He's not just playing
right?
G's and C's and a little bit of finger picking, and all of a sudden he opened things up, and then obviously with Tremonti itself, it's he's definitely one to watch out for, and he's definitely an underrated guitarist. So it's funny you actually bring that up, though.
Yeah, because like I got like so I had the privilege to see Creed on the Creed cruise. My girlfriend and I we went out there, and so even just watching him, like when I go to shows, like I enjoy them and I really love going to them, but I really go and I study and I learn and I focus on the gear that's used, how they present themselves on stage, how they carry themselves, the mannerisms that they use, their and for a guitar player, the techniques that they use, how he plays the song. So if I were to cover the song, I have to play it like the artist so I can kind of get into their mindset, right? So like I get very nitty gritty with that stuff, and so I got the privilege of hanging out with Tremonti and getting to watch him as well. So I was kind of watching how he plays, and you'd listen to, like, for example, even Higher, a very popular Creed song. Sounds very simple. It's not too bad, but the technical aspect and the ability that he puts onto it, especially live, you get to see all the little details that you miss just listening to the record. And so going back and listening to a lot of that Creed stuff after just like seeing them and stuff, like you pay attention to a little bit more of that finer details, and you can kind of like, oh, okay, now you can kind of appreciate a little bit more on like what actually goes on in the Creed songs that Tremonti puts in. It's incredible, like the minor details that he puts in there. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing too. You mentioned. I think a lot of people don't understand, especially with a musician going to see another show. You're studying the show, right?
100%.
And sometimes I know I've gone with people and they're looking at me like, "What are you not enjoying it?" It's like, no, I'm watching it right now. Yeah, I'm seeing something else right now that you might not be seeing, right? So it's a,
That's
it's
always
a
funny,
it's a good way to go to a show, though.
right? I always have every time I go to shows with like friends or family or something like that. That's obviously not a musician or anything like that. They're enjoying the show and they're looking at me like, "Are you not having a good time?" I was like, "No, no, I'm having the best time. Like I'm focusing on so many different things right now and all the little nuances that's going on. Like I can't explain it till like after the show. I don't know if you're gonna get it or if it's gonna go over your head, but like it's a whole other world for me right now."
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. And then you hear the backing track.
Right?
So what's next for Sleepless? What's going on? Are you guys currently writing? You're looking to record again, or are you just kind of doing a live circuit? And
So it's definitely a bit of a blend of things. So we're recording songs already. So we have one that we already got the mix back for, and honestly, we started playing it live. Like it's so good, it's so catchy. We have another one right now that's being worked on, it's being recorded, and we're just uh, kind of putting not the final touches on it, but a couple of the getting closer to the final touches. And then after that, even in between that, we're still writing the rest of the record. We have probably 9 songs, but I think what we're doing right now is we're pulling those back and redressing them, kind of looking at it from a different perspective, different likes. We want to restructure some of them. So the two that we have right now, we're obviously recording and probably won't release for a while yet, but we're definitely focusing more on the writing aspect in between all the shows and then taking advantage of the shows to just try to improve our live show, try and get better. Because last year, for example, we played with Calling All Captains in October, I think it was October, November. We didn't have, I think that was our first time using a click track. So the entire time as a band, we never used click tracks, never used backing tracks, never did anything like that. So we're trying to always improve. So for the shows this year, we originally weren't going to play any. We just kind of like, you know what, let's just take the year off to focus on writing, recording, and trying to just wrap up for 2025. 20, yeah, 2025 is coming up. And so we're going to try and focus on that. And then people just start hitting us up for shows. And we're like, okay, let's just do festivals then. And then festivals turns into just people wanting to hit us up for other shows. It's like, okay, let's just do shows this year. We'll use that money to fund the record and fund merch and whatever else we want to do. And then just use that to help ramp up into 2025. So this way, at least we're not spending everything out of pocket. So then we kind of just added more onto our plate. So it's definitely the direction we're going right now, is loading up our plate with a lot of different things, but ramping up for a 2025 release.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear. You mentioned merch there. I looked into your merch as well. That's it's you got a lot of stuff in there. Who's doing your merch for you? Because it seems like it might be a third party.
So the way we have it, so we use a website called Bandzoogle. They host. That's where we get all our hosting from. And then we use Printify to do the fulfillments. So we can do a lot of drop shipping on our website. But then the designs and putting all that stuff on there, I do all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of what we'll do is, like, I'll create the designs, send it to the guys. If the guys are cool with it, make any adjustments, everything like that. We post on the website so we can get it to be drop shipped and print on demand and all that other good stuff. And then the ones that sell probably the most, or the ones that seem most popular, like the whole Pornhub Sleepless logo, is a big hit. So it's like, okay, let's take that, and then we'll go to a company here. So we work with Rogue Labs, and so we have them print. Well, they're going to be printing our stickers and merch and all that other stuff. So we take that to our live shows, and then if something else gets popular, whether it's a sweater, socks, or something, I don't know, whatever else, then that's when we go back and we get more and we bring that in for local shows. But a lot of stuff we do for the website are, because we have a lot of fan bases spread out across both Canada and the US and some in Europe as well. So that's probably been the most cost effective way to try and get as much merch out as possible and kind of diversify to also know what people want, what people like, rather than just be like, oh, let's just go make 50 shirts with our name on it,
Hmm.
and not everybody likes it because of a certain style or because it's only in black, or like little things like that. So it's like, let's just see what people react to and see what people enjoy with all these different weird designs that we do. And then just, okay, we have one that's perfect. Let's just print a bunch of them, and that'll help us locally. And then for also future, if we want to ship it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it really stood out just going through your merch. It wasn't a simple open a page and there's a black shirt, a white shirt, a hat. It wasn't simple. There was a lot more going on, which is great. It gives people the choice, right?
Right? I don't mind the idea of like, hey, we have one or two. It's like, okay, I really like you guys. I really want a shirt, but it's like, I don't like that design. I don't like that design. And I'm sure you've done it too. And we go to shows, we want to buy merch. We got to find something that is like our style and it fits us, right? So trying to make as many different designs as possible, to not overwhelm, because that's the worst thing I could do, is just overwhelm everybody, give them like 30 different options. But at the same time, too, allow it to have somewhat of a design that would kind of express that person or the way they want to go about representing that band.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
absolutely.
lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Before we wrap up, usually how I end it is just kind of let you freestyle here. Anything you want to say to, anyone who's going to be watching this, or any of your fans out there, or just family, anyone.
Oh man, it could go in so many different directions. I'll say, for the musicians that are going to be watching this, or artists that are curious, if there's any questions about the industry that you want to know, whether that's royalties, collecting between SOCAN, mechanical royalties, and all these other things that I had a hard time finding out. So like royalty collections, when it comes to sing placements, anything like that, just message our band account, join our Discord. If you have questions, like, we'll shoot all that information out there. Like, we have a lot of connections, and I wanted to learn myself of how royalties work, because there's different streams. Because like, you get paid for radio, you get paid for shows, and a lot of artists that I talk to, they don't know how to do that, or they don't even know it exists. And we really want to help other artists. So if you're an artist, hit us up. We want to help you. We want to help other artists grow. Rising tide raises all ships. You know how it is. Um, Other than that, hit us up on social media at Sleepless WPG. And if it helps, it's sleep slash less. But
Yeah, for
but yeah,
sure.
that's it.
Awesome. Well, great talking with you. You know, anyone watching, you know, great band. You got to check them out. I told Brad before it started here that they're my newly discovered band for myself, and they're probably one of my favorites right now. So
Really
definitely check
appreciate it. Thank you.
Monday Morning Quarterback. It's my favorite song off that album.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
song definitely went through its changes. And
Yeah.
yeah, that one. So that one, I didn't have a name for it, and then all of a sudden, just Monday Morning Quarterback popped in my head, and I was like, "Okay, let's call it that." And so we called it MMQB for short, and we really wanted to link every song to a movie or a TV show. So like Means to an End, we had that title, and then I was watching Melissa and Joey, and they said that. I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna link it to that." So we're trying to do the whole bring back movie cool song titles, and so I had Monday Morning Quarterback as the title. I have no idea where it came from. I don't recall. And I was like, okay, we're gonna name it that. And then I was watching Die Hard 2 for the first time. In the first 15 minutes, he said, "This ain't no Monday Morning Quarterback or anything." I was like, "Oh, yeah, he said the line."
There it is. All right. Well, good chatting with you. You know, we'll see you around, and obviously good luck at the Loud Awards.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a great chat.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. We'll see you later.
All right, okay, take care.